Canadian professional football on CBC. Brought to you by Canadian Pacific, owned by Canadians, working for Canadians. By Firestone, a new generation of tires from a world of experience. And by Labatt Breweries of Canada Limited, brewers of Labatt's 50 Ale and Labatt's Blue. CFL 80 on CBC.
Live from Winnipeg Stadium, the Montreal Alouettes and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's a chilly October afternoon in southern Manitoba as we prepare for an important game between two teams trying to finalize their playoff positions. The Bombers hope to lock up second place in the Western Conference and home field in the semifinal. The Alouettes are looking for top place in the Eastern Conference, and they can clinch it with a victory here this afternoon. There's one other game already underway in Canadian football today, and at halftime, the Argos lead the BC Lions 18-15. Thanks to Ottawa's victory over the Tiger Cats yesterday, the Alouettes still hold top place by 1 over Hamilton. The Rough Riders are another point back and finish their schedule, so they'll have to wait and see if their 4-point lead on the Argonauts will hold up. The Argos, on the other hand, need 2 straight wins to qualify for the playoffs. In the West, top place belongs to the Edmonton Eskimos, but there's still a lot to be decided. Winnipeg holding down second, and the Bombers need only 1 win to guarantee the number 2 spot. BC needs 2 victories for second place, plus a Bomber loss, and Calgary, still struggling in 4th place, can still make the playoffs if they pull off a couple of victories and get a little help from their friends. So, with 2 weekends to go in the Canadian Football League, still a lot to be decided. We'll continue from Winnipeg in just a moment.
If you're looking for a small car with lots of room, wait till you drive Omega, the Oldsmobile of small cars.
You'll know you're stepping out this year when you get behind the wheel of a smooth riding road, hugging high fashion, eye-catching, quick-stepping, fuel-sipping, pump-passing, pocket-pleasing, front-wheel drive Omega from Oldsmobile. We had one built for you, right? Oldsmobile.
11 other guys got you here. Now, reaching for it. Best you can do. Reaching for it. Reaching for it. You're reaching for it. Oh! And that's the way it is with Grand Prix Ale. Reaching for it. New Labatt's Grand Prix. It's the best it can be.
A very important game this afternoon for both teams. The Alouettes attempting to wrap up first place in the Eastern Conference, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers attempting to make second place in the West official. This afternoon, Terry, the Alouettes will have the task of attempting to stop the Dieter Brock aerial circus, and certain people will be under the gun, particularly middle linebacker Tom Cousineau.
Tom Cousineau, number 1 draft choice of the NFL in 1979, trying year that year, has found himself in 1980. 204 tackles, averaging close to 15 a game. He's having a super year for the Montreal Alouettes.
Randy Rhino, the safety, might be tested by the speed Winnipeg will have on the outside.
Well, he's coming off a serious knee injury again in 1979, but he's found himself. He's a center fielder in that complicated defense of the Alouettes, and he has an added job of backing up both corners and also those safety people who are rookies in that spot.
Well, those corners, particularly Dickie Harris, might be tested with the speed of new recruit Larry Douglas, and we know Mike Holmes can fly.
Well, when you have a receiver like Larry Douglas, but Dickie Harris, though, is one of the all-time great cornerbacks in CFL history. And we cannot say enough about the type of athlete he is, and he is going to have to stop that outstanding speed of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Winnipeg, conversely, will have to stop Jerry DiTilio from getting outside. He is not as effective in the pocket. When he rolls to the outside, that's when he seems to be most effective.
But he's an interesting story in itself. 6 years on special teams, played most positions on the offense and some on defense, but always had confidence that he could be a number 1 quarterback and is having a super year for the Montreal Alouettes.
Dieter Brock requires 21 completions in 32 attempts to set new CFL records, erasing the marks established by Peter Lisk of the Calgary Stampeders, 303 completions in 508 attempts back in 1967. Brock certainly has the arm. He has a fellow who will be going deep. Larry Douglas added for this game. He was acquired from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he will replace Joe Poplawski, who suffered a hamstring injury last week in a loss to the Calgary Stampeders. That, by the way, snapped the Blue Bomber winning streak at 8 games. So with Douglas and Holmes on the outside, they should have speed and could make those Montreal corners deep conscious.
They're going to have trouble, and they're going to have to cover up. But let's not forget the inside halfbacks either. We have Eugene Goodlow on the inside, and it's going to be a problem.
And now, our national anthem.
We're almost ready for the kickoff in Winnipeg. We'll be right back after this.
Firestone tires play a vital part in developing Canada's energy resources. Our role in energy conservation is just as important. The 721 Fuel Fighter, a steel-belted radial tire that's lean on gas and long on mileage. The new 721 Fuel Fighter from Firestone.
Neil Payne is the man in charge of this afternoon's very important game here at Winnipeg Stadium. A crowd of about 28,000 in attendance. The wind has picked up within the last hour or so and has made things rather cool. Trevor Kennard's kick with the wind bouncing down to Al Chorney at the 3-yard line. Chorney this year had the longest kickoff return, a 99-yarder in the CFL. Paul Bennett was down to make the tackle, restricting his return to 22 yards after a 63-yard kick. Joe Scannella, the head coach of the Montreal Alouettes, will send Jerry DiTilio out there as his starting quarterback. Skip Walker and David Green, the running backs. The receivers are Biletnikoff, Baker, McMahon, and Peter Dallariva. Jerry DiTilio, since taking over as the starting quarterback on the 18th of August, has held a hot hand for the Montreal Alouettes and has received his team's Shenley nomination as the outstanding player in the country. Many people feel he will be the Eastern finalist. There's the pitch to David Green, and Green fumbles the football. The ball is scooped up by Winnipeg, but I believe they're whistling. The play had been, or ruling, I should say, the play had been whistled dead prior to the ball squirting away from Green.
The Montreal Alouettes are going to try to establish their outside running game. They feel before they can pass against this Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense, they're going to have to run to the outside. They're going to have to establish good authority on the line of scrimmage with their tight ends and their linebackers, and then we'll see them open up with the pass.
Smith is the center, Hamelick and Fold to the left, Mangold and Payton to the right. This is what DiTilio likes to do, to get outside. That roll action incomplete, intended for Fred Biletnikoff. And the Montreal Alouettes will be forced to kick as they are unable to gain yardage on their first offensive series. DiTilio coming into this game, 156 completions in 262 attempts. A very impressive 59.5 percentage. Paul Bennett and Ian Mofford drop back to receive the third down kick by Jerry McGrath. They are standing at their own 45. McGrath is kicking into that northwest wind, a very cool wind that, as I mentioned earlier, started to increase in velocity about an hour before game time. Penalty flag. The Bombers will be called with roughing the kicker. And all the efforts of Paul Bennett will go for naught as Vernon Paul decked the punter Jerry McGrath, and that will mean an automatic first down for the Alouettes. That was a 38-yard kick and a 3-yard run back.
Contacting the kicker, Winnipeg, number 50 for first down.
Let's take another look at that, Terry. There wasn't much doubt.
No, we got a low snap, and naturally it's going to give that rushing team a little bit more time to get in on the punter, and actually there was contact and a good call.
Vernon Paul had a chance to hold up. You'll see John Helton, number 99, hold up. But Paul coming through continues his charge right into him.
And I don't think he held back on that either. There was no such a thing as trying to sidestep him.
Well, those are the things that very definitely hurt a team. They hold the Alouettes on the first offensive series. They would have had the ball in good field position. As it is now, they give the Alouettes another chance, scrimmaging this time from their 37. David Green slipped as he tried to cut back in, and Leo Ezerant made sure he stayed down. Defensively, the Bombers shape up like this. Comet Burley and Tony Norman are the ends. John Helton and Marv Alamang are the tackles. The linebackers, James Reed in the middle. He's a Montreal cast-off. Ezerans and Toogood are outside. And the defensive backs, Williams and Faison are the corners. Pearson and Bennett the halfbacks, and Gary Rosalowicz is the safety. Second and 10. Detilio dropping straight back. The Bombers trying to pressure him. They've got him. Tony Norman dropped Detilio back at the 20-yard line.
That's why they feel that Jerry Detilio is least effective, is in the pocket. And Tony Norman, number 55, gets an excellent charge off that line of scrimmage. Larry Foll staying into his face, but the receivers were covered downfield, and Jerry really had no place to go, and there's a quarterback sack.
Well, this is Banner Day in Winnipeg, and football fans of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have been asked to make banners and bring them out for the football match this afternoon. The winner, the best banner this afternoon, receives a trip for two to the Grey Cup game.
And of course, John, the folks who have that winning banner are also hoping that the Blue Bombers will be one of the participating teams in the Grey Cup game. There's the kick by McGrath. The ball taken by Ian Mofford at midfield. Good run back by Mofford down to the 36th of the Alouettes. Jerry Friesen brought him down. The Bombers will have excellent field position for their first series when we return.
When the law firm of Hannigan, Brannigan, Milligan, and Malone decided to part company, everything proceeded politely.
Excuse me, Mr. Brannigan.
Oh, certainly, Mr. Hannigan.
Until it came to the question of who should have the Xerox copy.
And where would you be going with that, sir?
Chapter 3, subparagraph 4.
So they did the only thing they could do. They saw their lawyers. After all, having a Xerox copier is one thing. Parting with it is quite another.
Make a splash, hit the gas, grab on tight, it's out of sight. Now's the time to be happy. When you're smiling, now's the time to be happy. When you're smiling, Blue smiles along with you.
Winning the football game is of utmost importance as far as Dieter Brock is concerned, but he's also interested in etching his name into the CFL record book. He has Miller and Bragagnola as his running backs and some talented receivers to throw to. But on the first play, he gives to Miller, and Miller goes inside for about 4 yards. Finally dropped down by William Hampton with assistance from several Alouette defenders. We talked about the receivers who will be attempting to grab those throws of Dieter Brock. The newcomer is Larry Douglas, the slot back, Goodlow on one side, House to the other, and the other wide receiver, Mike Holmes, the leading pass catcher in the Western Conference, coming into this game with 70. On second down, Brock with his first pass attempt of the afternoon over the middle, complete for a first down to Mike Holmes, at the 20-yard line. Dickie Harris made the tackle.
Montreal were blitzing, and you know that they're going to be man up. An interesting statistic about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, that 50% of their completions is over the center, down the middle of the formation. And right here, Mike Holmes with that blazing speed. Dickie Harris has to give him some room early in the game. They know they're going to test him. And there's a nice open spot underneath because Montreal blitzed their 3 outside linebackers.
10:25 remaining in this opening quarter. 1st and 10, Winnipeg. The ball is at the Montreal 20-yard line. Brock throwing over the middle. Douglas has it. He's inside the 5. Tom Cousineau made the tackle.
Winnipeg has those outstanding receivers right across the board. Dieter Brock just having a sensational season. Douglas right here at 1 up. They pick cornerback Dave Dumars, and again down the center, wide open. Why? Montreal blitzed their linebackers again. They know they have to get pressure on quarterback Dieter Brock, and they're going to have to blitz and stunt. And they got to get into his face. If they don't, it could be a long afternoon.
Winnipeg 1st and goal from the 3-yard line. In that short yardage formation, Leo Ezerins goes in to block, and Mark Bragagnola carries the ball. Bragagnola got down to about the 2, I think. Now Jim Cron comes in to replace Dieter Brock, and this is a strategy the Bombers have employed on a number of occasions on short yardage plays. Cron, the rookie from Arizona. There's the pitch to William Miller. Touchdown!
There was no penetration by the Montreal defensive left side at all. They just strung that play right out, and William Miller just vaulted right into the end zone. Here from our low-angle camera, you'll see we try to get a force from the outside. Nothing there, and they just string that play right along, and really no penetration whatsoever. Another good look from our end zone camera, following the lead block of Mark Bragagnola. Nice hole inside. Randy Rhino trying to come up, but just no penetration.
The point after attempt by Kennert. It's successful. And with 8:53 left to play in this first quarter, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers lead the Montreal Alouettes 7-0. William Miller, the man who scored the touchdown, and for Miller, that is his 7th touchdown of the season. What a contribution he has made to the Blue Bomber attack since being acquired after the season opener from the Calgary Stampeders. Miller needs 30 yards this afternoon to become the 3rd CFL running back to crack the 1,000-yard barrier. And on past performance, he should have little difficulty in picking up the required 30 yards.
Oh, he's having really a tremendous season as a runner because, you know, Winnipeg is a prominent passing team, but yet they employ enough running, and yet, you know, he gets 1,000 yards. He's going to get 1,000 yards. It's the speed he has in that backfield. You look at the speeds of the outside receivers, the blocking of that reconstructed offensive line, and they got an awesome team right now. And, you know, Randy Rhino is going to have his hands full, not only as covering on the pass, but he's going to have to come up on the run also. He's going to have his hands full this afternoon. He's going to have actually a great game in the middle.
The kick by Kennert. Chorney has to go back to the goal line. Al Chorney starting out for Montreal, and he is upset by Paul Bennett at the 25. That was a 23-yard return after a 65-yard kickoff. Defensively, the Bombers employ Norman and Burley as the ends. Alamang and Helton are the tackles. The middle linebacker is James Reed with Toogood and Ezerins outside. And the secondary consists of Faison and Williams in the corners, Bennett and Pearson inside, and Rozalowicz is the safety. Detilio trying to roll. The pass is complete. Very close to a first down. Keith Baker on the receiving end of the throw. Making sure he stayed down was Reg Pearson.
Keith Baker's really having an excellent season for the Alouettes. An interesting fact about him that earlier in his career he had tendency to drop the easy passes, Don. And then with the veteran Fred Bolitnikov coming to Montreal, who's really a good technician, practices a lot in practice and techniques. Baker picked up some of the techniques, and now he's not dropping those easy ones. And conversely, he's having a great season.
Baker coming into this game had 49 receptions for 8 touchdowns. He's a second-year Alouette out of Texas Southern.
You know, we talk about that Winnipeg defense too, Don. You know, the offense is getting all the publicity, but that secondary, the Blue Bombers, probably most improved secondary in the entire league.
Nikaraki comes into the ball game. Keith Baker goes out. It's second and less than a yard for the Alouettes. Tilio keeps. He'll have the first down as he penetrates to the 35. New recruit Larry Douglas, number 26, added to the Bomber roster for this game as a replacement for the injured Joe Poplawski. 6'1", 187 pounds, out of Southern Methodist via the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he made a key reception in that Bomber touchdown drive. The Alouettes just across the 35. The pitch to David Green, and he is down at the 41. A gain of 4, stopped by Bob Toogood. It will be 2nd and 6 for the Alouettes, and we'll be back with that play right after this message.
What does the budget name say to car renters?
Low rates, of course, but there's more, like our full selection of cars.
Cleaned, serviced, and a pleasure to drive.
And our worldwide reservation system.
One toll-free call for confirmed reservations in over 60 countries.
And our counter people.
Trained to give fast, friendly service. You know, the budget name really does say more than low rates.
That's right.
At Budget, you're number one.
7:13 is the time remaining in this first quarter. The Blue Bombers with that early touchdown by William Miller leading 7-0. The Alouettes second down at their own 40. Keith Baker comes wide to the left. The man in motion is Bolitnikov. David Green is dropped for a loss of a couple of yards by John Helton.
Well, right in the center of our screen, John gets double teamed by the center and right guard, but Marv Alaming just comes off the block of Mike Hamleck, number 44, and makes the tackle almost in the backfield.
So on third down, once again, Jerry McGrath comes in to kick the ball, standing back at his own 25. And again, we point out that he is kicking into a very strong northwest breeze. Pretty good kick. Fielded by Bennett. And Bennett is stopped at the 31. Nikaraki, the first man downfield to make the tackle. John, a little chilly down on the sidelines.
Well, it's warming up a little bit, Don. A reminder, there's a great lineup on Sports Weekend next Saturday afternoon. The Canadian Open Badminton Championship from Toronto. The World Cup Soccer Series continues from Vancouver with Canada and the United States in their second qualifying game. All part of Sports Weekend next Saturday.
Should be an interesting show, and we have had an interesting show here at Winnipeg Stadium so far this October afternoon. Dieter Brock trying to flip it off to William Miller. They were trying to set up the screen. There was some pressure coming from the backside. Junior Ayu got through very quickly. It goes as an incomplete pass.
Montreal know, getting ready for this game, that they were going to have their hands full with Dieter Brock and his outstanding receivers, and they were going to play a lot of ghost defense. And what I mean by that, that they don't want to give Dieter Brock a key before that ball is snapped. They're going to try to jump people around, move their linebackers in and out, their cornerbacks come up, play up hard, back off, and really not give Dieter a chance to read that play too quickly.
Second and 10. Here's the draw play. Miller, the ball carrier. He has 6, but he is stopped well short of the first down by Al Chorney and Tom Cousineau. So as Dieter Brock comes off, the Winnipeg punting unit moves in. And Bob Cameron will be kicking with the wind. Randy Rhino goes back, along with Dickie Harris for this third down kick. These two veterans have done an excellent job over the years in returning punts for the Alouettes. Bob Cameron has developed from a rather slow start this season as the Winnipeg Blue Bomber kicker, and he's done an excellent job in recent games. Punt is taken by Randy Rhino. He is caught and brought down by Leo Ezerins. Ezerins showing good speed and getting downfield to make the tackle on Randy Rhino. A 36-yard kick and a loss of 4 on the attempted return. Ezerins, number 72, a Winnipeg native, started his professional career as a tight end. A year ago, he was converted to a linebacking spot, and he has developed quickly. To the outside of middleman James Reed with Bob Toogood to the other side. 4:55 remaining in this first quarter. Winnipeg leading 7-0. It's 1st and 10. Montreal, they are at their own 34. DeTilio throwing, it picked off by Reggie Pearson. And Pearson is forced out of bounds at the 10-yard line by Jerry DeTilio. For Reggie Pearson, his 5th interception of the season.
Well, Jerry DeTilio was getting all kinds of pressure from the inside. Winnipeg knew that they feel DeTilio is least effective inside, so they run their ends up the middle. There's John Helton. He throws right into the heart of that defense. Reggie Pearson sitting right there in his zone, and geez, he threw it right to him.
He took it away from Skip Walker. You'll see the pressure from John Helton.
He just throws the block and Roland Mangle, just throws him aside, and it gets into that backfield, putting enough pressure on Jerry DeTilio that he's got to throw the ball quicker than he wanted to.
I think DeTilio's having problem with the wind, too, gentlemen. It's a crosswind, and it seemed to catch that particular pass as well as the pressure.
I wouldn't be surprised, John. Here's Brock throwing with the wind into the end zone, incomplete. It was intended for Mike Holmes. Holmes, in attempting to make his cut at the goal line, appeared to slip. He was being covered by Dave Dumars.
Just to update everyone, there's what's happening in the third quarter. The BC Lions trailing the Toronto Argonauts 21-18. And, of course, Blue Bomber fans are very interested in the outcome of that particular game.
Indeed, they will. A loss by the BC Lions would clinch first or second place for the Blue Bombers. Bombers would like to clinch it themselves, of course, with a victory over the Alouettes this afternoon. Second down from the 10-yard line. Brock throwing, touchdown! There's a new twist. It shows the athletic ability of Mike Holmes as he spikes the ball over the crossbar.
Well, cornerback Dave Dumars has to respect the speed of Mike Holmes. Mike, leading receiver in the country right now. Dave Dumars looks like he was sitting in his zone, and Mike read it perfectly. He just comes right across and runs a curl pattern wide open. Dieter Brock just rifles that football in there, getting the protection. All he needed. Tom Cousineau trying to get back there and trying to do a little bit of double coverage in the hook zone, just by his outstretched hands.
Point after by Trevor Kennard. It is good, and Winnipeg leads 14-0 with 3:55 remaining in this opening quarter. We'll be back with the Bomber kickoff right after this.
I gotta show you my new car. The sporty new 1981 O'Malley.
Jerry, that's the new 81 Cutlass Calais.
Oh, sure. Oldsmobile had it built. But it's me, as sporty